much. I appreciate it. Well, good morning. My name is Lacy. I am an associate professor of industrial safety at the University of Central Oklahoma in Edmond. I've been in Edmond for, I've been in Edmond longer than that, but have taught safety at UCO for, this is my 17th year. I'll start my 18th year in the fall. So anyway, and first of all, thanks to Wayne and your faculty and your staff and everybody for hosting this morning. Great tour, impressive facilities as I knew they would be. So I always enjoy seeing what other organizations and other institutions do. That's really helpful for me, as I think about how to do what we need to do with a pretty robust enrollment like here. So we also have a large program, and we will teach classes sometimes with 30 or 40 or 50 students, depending on the type of class. And we also offer classes in, as I'm sure most of you all do, in multiple formats to try to assist our students and try to assist our working students and adults and things of that nature. So I guess by that what I mean is we will offer courses, good old Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, Tuesday, Thursday at 1 o'clock or 2:15 or 2:30 or whenever the case may be. But we also offer evening classes, weekend classes, intersession classes, summer school classes, blended classes, online classes, all the things, trying to cover all our bases to make it convenient for our students, to try to accommodate them as best we can. So when I have usually a week-long class, an intercession class, or sometimes, especially the one you all refer to as senior seminar, sometimes especially when I do that class, or I will teach the safety education, the old freshman class. If I ever have the opportunity to teach that summer school or maybe an intercession class, which we will do on occasion, when I've got a pretty large group of students, and sometimes when I've got a large group of students from different backgrounds, students that may not even be safety majors, for example, taking the safety ed class. There's a little icebreaker that I use that I call Icebreaker Bingo, and you all have probably done various games and different mechanisms to sort of get people up and comfortable and wandering around and things like that. So one thing that I do is called Icebreaker Bingo, and let me just pass this out, and I think it will be probably somewhat intuitive to you with some instructions. And it's pretty basic. It's nothing, nothing too complicated. And as you read some of these categories, I think you'll see that you could tailor this to your students at Southeastern. You could tailor it to your students at Northeastern. You could tailor it to your students in, Durant or Stillwater or Edmond or whatever the case may be. But essentially, I pass this out. I let them, read the directions, and then basically everybody's sort of sitting there looking at me, and I finally, sometimes as you all do, I finally just say, okay, ready, break, go. And if they read the instructions, then they know to circulate and talk and visit and interact, and sometimes that's always the most complicated thing to do when you throw a new group of people together for a class, especially if you're going to spend, a week together. So that's what I do, and I call it Icebreaker Bingo because it's in, Mitch, it's obviously in squares, and each square has a different statement. For instance, I live in a rural community. Define rural how you want to. I have ridden a horse. I'm a first-generation college student. I have been to a rodeo. I have been on a drilling rig. I have fly fished. I play a musical instrument, and on and on and on. Now, there's 50 squares. We've got 25 on the front and 25 on the back. And on the instructions, I say you cannot have the same person sign in more than 2 squares. So if you've got a, 25 student class, or even up to, 25, 30, 35, then the idea is to have the students circulate and meet people and just sort of talk, and it's a little bit like speed dating almost. Because you got to work pretty quickly to think about, who can sign in each square. And of course, what's interesting and fun for me to watch is sort of how, finally you'll have people in different corners of the room, and somebody will be saying, okay, I'm the fly fisherman. And so somebody else will say, I'm the golfer. Every once in a while somebody will say, I've jumped out of a plane. Maybe we've got a former military student or something like that. And so then people circulate and they're trying to say, who was the fly fisherman? And so they're trying to track down that signature. But anyway, it's nothing, nothing too complicated. It's nothing that you all haven't done in some form or fashion in your classes. But it works pretty well. And one thing that's fun about this is that I'll just sort of stand here and watch this, and eventually, usually, a student will sort of come up and say, now, can you sign? Can you sign a couple? Can you sign it? I say, sure I can. So then I'll give them a couple signatures, but usually a couple.
Is that how they get the John Denver box?
That's how they get the John Denver box. So
I was in that Denver.
there you go. I've been part of an OSHA inspection, for example, as probably some of you all have been. I have children. I'm a safety major. I'm a scholarship athlete. Stuff like that. So it's a good way to get them up and out of their chairs. It's a good way to get them to sort of interact casually and joking around and trying to circulate and trying to see who can figure out how to do it the most efficiently. You've got those students that are trying to figure out how to do it efficiently, then you've got the students that are just wandering and asking and looking. And so anyway, it's fun and it works for me, especially big class, a lot of students, get them up and circulating to start the class off on a, kind of a good firm foundation of interaction. And then what I do is, whoever yells bingo first, and I make that distinction there. It's not really bingo because it's not just one direction. It's really playing blackout. So they need to get all the squares checked. And then the first couple of students that do that, I'll usually give some sort of prize for them. It may be a UCO hard hat. It may be, something that was donated by a vendor. And when they do that, then I'll pass out a couple prizes. And I think Mitch for running the camera, and Dr. Jones for hosting.
Heck yeah.
I want to make sure Dr. Jones gets a UCO phone wall.
I will display it proudly.
I'm sure he'll carry that. But once again, I'm glad I didn't follow Dr. Ellis, who's going to talk about safety engineering, when I talked about something as simplistic as an icebreaker. But icebreaker bingo works for me. I do have it electronically, Mitch. I'll send it to you if you'd like to distribute to the group and modify, adapt, use, change, as you see fit. I could have done it for this group and maybe had 12 or 15 or 16 squares and track down where you all went to school and, spend a little time on it. Of course, didn't do that. But I use this and it works well for me. So.
You black out both sides or just one side?
Both sides. I'll use that and black out both sides, especially if I've got 25, 30, 35 students. And it takes just a little bit of time, but what's fun is to see how they start trying to team up, and finally the more outgoing students will, like I say, I've played golf, or I'm a scholarship athlete, or I've got my pilot's license, or whatever the case may be. And so it and once again, I've met Pistol Pete. I've shook Pistol Pete's hand, or you could have, I've been to the new casino, down the road, or I've caught a striper on Lake Texoma, or, you can adapt it to your particular campus, to some of your particular kids that would work, and really nothing other than to just sort of get people up and moving and circulating and talking, and it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun.
Have you noticed any difference in your classes when you use this as an icebreaker to get students acquainted with each other? Do you see a difference in the group dynamics after you've done this?
Yeah, you see a different dynamic almost immediately because, folks are sitting here like you are now. And after this, even when you get them back in their seats, there's still a little bit of a buzz, there's still a little bit of a, rustle, and, now, what sport do you play, and you can follow up on some of these questions. You've been part of an OSHA inspection. How did that, where was that? What happened? What was the outcome? I repeated a college course for a better grade. I think we can all tell our college algebra horror story.
Do you collect all the sheets at the end so that you know a little bit about each of the students, or you let them keep their sheets?
I don't, Katie. That's probably a good idea, but I don't. I let them keep their sheets, and they sort of have fun. One of the things I enjoy most is to see the different classes, how long it takes, and who approaches me first. Because it's usually a little bit, haltingly. Can you sign? can you sign this for me? You know, that kind of thing. But, you know, of course, a new class, you're feeling out the class is feeling you out, and the class is feeling out each other. You know, sort of set the dynamics of the room, and I think if you set the dynamics of the room as, you know, a little bit active and a little bit engaged and a little bit involved, and we're all part of the same team here, you know. I guess another way, you know, thinking about that as part of the same team, you might could identify some way to let students, you know, work as a team on this, I don't know. But it works pretty well, and I saw this, I can't remember, but you know, like any good safety idea, I stole this from a colleague at some point, and they played some fashion of bingo, but I think maybe played it with, you know, safety terminology or safety tasks, or, you know, I've been in a confined space, or I've, you know, been on a scaffold, or whatever the case may be. So, kind of fun, and it's worked well for me. Don't do it in every class, you know, don't do it in every class, but the right type of class, especially a pretty diverse class, you know, maybe some different majors, maybe some safety majors, or a class where I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time with them, an intersection in particular, because I want to get that, you know, set right off the bat and get everybody around and circulating and moving and working together. So, kind of fun. That's all I've got, man.